Oh, well.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Good Goose podcast, where we talk about whatever's on our minds and whatever's in the headlines. Zach, I just made that up on the spot.
It was good. It was good.
pretty
Right
good.
off the top of the dome.
Off the top of the old bear ears. In case you're curious, I'm having a bad hair day, Zach.
Yes, but you did the right thing and hit it.
I did.
I'm having a bad hair day too, but it's mostly confined to the back here, so I'm hoping perspective is just going to help me out
A
here.
bunch of zip ties and like chip clips and or not chip clips, but I would use chip clips if I had long hair because I'm dirt poor. But like hair clips and stuff like that. Okay.
You know, like you get like a hair tie for like 50 cents.
What?
You get like a pack of like 20 for $1.50.
Are they gonna get the job done though? I feel like a chip clip does the exact same thing, and you can also clip your chips. So
but that's what you got to reuse the chip clip for actual chips, and then you're like, oh, I got all this hair in here, and it's gonna get mixed with my chips. You want hairy chips?
How much hair is coming out of your hair whenever you take off your hair clips?
It's really a lot.
Can you use a hair tie to chip your clips? Wait, to clip your chips?
Well, I mean, not clip, but you could close the bag with a hair tie.
Have you done that before?
Well, no, because I'm normal.
All right. Well, I guess I'm the asshole for thinking about using chip clips for dual purpose.
Asshole seems a little strong. Maybe just weird.
I'm very, very hard on myself. Zach, how are you today? How was your week?
Good. I'm good. You asked me a little bit about how my week was before we started rolling here, and I get around to talking about it with you before we hit go. But this whole week has been basically, so when we first got into the new place, my wife, she set up her kind of like desk room area over in the master bedroom, and I set mine up over in the second bedroom.
Right.
And then it turns out we both hated being in either one of those rooms. So I like to be in cooler environments, and the room I had picked originally it runs hot. It's always warm in there. And she's the opposite, where she prefers to be a little bit warmer. She's always freezing. And that room is always cold. So we've been in a new place for about 2 months now, and we finally just said, oh, the other thing is I actually like to sleep in like a normal person, and she's a freak of nature who gets up at 7:30.
It's kismet, though. It's the universe deciding your rooms for you.
Yes, and this room, the way the window is set up, literally every single fucking morning, sunlight comes in on the dot 7:30, and I'll have my alarm set for 2 hours later because that's when I gotta get up to go to work. But then like I'm waking up 2 hours before I need to, and I feel like shit because I can't hit REM or be in REM enough for long enough. I also go to bed at like 3 fucking in the morning.
Well, that's kind of on you. That's the choice that you make. So you're not getting enough REM, which who isn't?
Yes.
And like the band, we're talking about the band.
Yes.
Moving past
Losing My Religion. Yeah.
Actually, I can't recall, other than that song, I can't think of any other REM songs.
It's the end of the world as we know it.
Oh, that's REM?
Yeah. Ooh, there's a bunch. It's REM's one of those bands that has like a pretty stacked catalog.
Everybody Hurts? That's not
Everybody Hurts.
They did a cover of it, I guess. Or unless it's a different song. Man on the Moon.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. They got like some certified hits here. They're never a band that like when a song of theirs comes on, you're like, oh yeah, REM. But it's not like oh man, my favorite band's REM.
Yeah, because they're thinking like, oh no, STP, man, that's what it's all about, Incubus.
Yes.
This is all
yeah, Incubus, that's a pull.
Or okay, so this was a genre of music that's like just totally not what I grew up listening to. I mean, it was in like the outer rim of like people were like, oh yeah, losing my religion, end of the world as we know. I mean, I know end of the world as we know. It's alternative, but it's also like on the bound. Okay, I'm gonna get my ass chewed out by my roommate, but it's a specific genre of alternative where it's like, I don't know, dirty rock or something. Is that
it's like grungy rock?
Grungy rock. Okay. But like, I'll listen to Nirvana, and I'll listen to.
But see, like, there's
early wings, right?
Like, getting to your point, I think there's a difference in like type of grunge or whatever between REM and Nirvana. Obviously, like, they're two vastly different sounds,
right?
But I get like how you would put those two together too.
Anyway, you're not getting enough.
But yeah, my initial point was just that we both dislike the rooms that we were initially in. So this whole past week, we have been switching all of our shit across the apartment. So now we've pretty much fully, all of our stuff is where it needs to be. Now it's just like time to reorganize and kind of put things back together. I had just gotten a shelf for all of my older consoles, so I had kind of this quote unquote vintage console shelf in my room. Yes, as you do. And I just gotten that all situated the way I wanted it to. All the wires were good, everything. And then, of course, like 2 weeks later, that's when we're like, all right, fuck this. Yeah. So now it's all a fucking mess again. I got to redo it.
And you have room for all this? That's amazing.
Yeah, they're big rooms. Our apartment is quite large right now. Not to toot our own horn, rather.
Toot our own horn.
Oh, not a horn.
I do declare.
Yes, we have a lot of space here. So
that's good because your wife cannot stop buying books. I'm just gonna say it.
Yes, no. She that was actually part of her process as well. She set aside a box, it was actually like a box that paper towels came in because we had to order new paper towels because we ran out. So she has filled like a actual carton sized paper towel box of books to take and get rid of.
Yeah.
So she recognizes the problem. She's culling some a bit, but also on the same weekend she went and bought 3 more books. So I don't know.
Hey, I can't. I used to be that person. I used to be the person who would just nonstop, and it wasn't like movie posters, movie memorabilia. I would buy DVDs of movies, and this was. I mean, you knew because I had like an entire shelf of DVDs, Blu-rays, whatever it was. I was at Movie Trading Company or what was the other one? Jeez, not Blockbuster, but like Family Video, or I would just or Walmart or Target, wherever I could find like the movie at the best deal, and these are going to be movies I'm going to be watching forever on the DVD that I'm always going to have, or a DVD player that I'm always going to have, and.
Now you don't even have a DVD player.
Don't even have a DVD player. Well, does anyone? Does anyone
I have a Blu-ray player. It's not hooked up, but it's been sitting in a box for like 2 years. We did take out the Blu-ray player last year because Casey had. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there was a Stephen King miniseries called Rose Red.
Yes.
So she had been trying to track this thing down. And it's old.
Is it Rose Red or Rose Matter?
It's Rose Red, but it's about the manor. But it was made in like 89 or early 90s.
2002.
Oh fuck me. Well, it looks like it was made in 89 or early 90s. Yeah, it's a TV miniseries.
Yeah, on ABC.
And it's I believe it was based on the same story as Haunting a Hill House.
Okay, see, I'm not totally incorrect. Rose Madder, Stephen King novel. Rose Red,
yeah, that's the book.
Was I don't think they're exclusive to each other though, because this one it was written by Stephen King. I think it's literally based on a loose remake of Robert Wise's 1963 film The Haunting, which itself is based on Shirley Jackson's 1959 novel The Haunting of Hill House.
There you go.
So.
But yeah, so she had been trying to track this thing down for years, like ever since we started dating, because it was one of her favorites growing up. And so she was finally able to track it down. And it was like one of those situations where it was the last time it was released, it was on a 2-disc DVD.
Yeah.
In 2003, never reprinted. So when you go on Amazon to buy it secondhand, obviously you can't really get it anywhere else, so people are, you're buying it for like $30 essentially.
Yeah, because it's rarer, and I get that. Like people, I would probably do that if I had a disposable income. I would be buying like collector. I actually have a DVD of a movie that doesn't play anywhere. It's a Japanese film called Tokyo Zombie, and I was able to find it at Movie Trading Company. And you can't. I don't think you can rent it anywhere. You may be able to stream it in some places, but it's like one of those niche films that is hard to find. Yeah. And that would be something like, maybe Criterion Collection type of movies. And stuff like that.
It makes sense. The less there is of something, obviously whoever's selling that knows that whoever's looking at it, specifically seeking it out to buy it. So yeah, you charge a premium to buy it. But anyway, so we got that. And that was the first time that, not only was it the last time we pulled out the Blu-ray player, it was the first time in like 2 years we pulled out the Blu-ray player.
Do you have to blow off the dust? Like,
yeah. And actually, when we first hooked it up, I thought it wasn't going to work.
The fuck, red, yellow, white cables? What?
Yeah. So it did eventually end up working. We got through the first disc. And for those unaware, the way a mini series worked then, like around that time, it was similar with Stephen King's It,
and Storm of the Century.
Yeah, they would do a portion of it over a week or two, and then they would take a break, and then they do the next portion. So the first part of it is like 3.5 hours, 4 hours long. I can't remember. And then the second part of it, I think they just condensed down to like 2 hours. But we got to the halfway mark on that first DVD, and I was like, "So is it still as good as you remember?" And she's like,
"No,
I think I'm good. I don't need to watch this."
Wow,
and that, my friends, is the story of why you do not touch your memories.
You don't.
Lie.
Well, I mean, especially when you know that it's going to be something that probably didn't age well. Like a lot of, and I'm not going to say, everything is crystalline and you can watch it at any point, although there are some classics, obviously. But it's funny you mentioned that. And I think because maybe we were growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s that that particular like era of movies and TV shows are particularly not nostalgic for me, because movies that were made, especially in the early 90s and the early 2000s, they just don't age well because it was a huge change in how movies were being made. I watched The Last Castle with my roommate, starring Robert Redford and oh my gosh, Tony Soprano. Who plays Tony Soprano? James Gandolfini.
Fuck.
It's Gandolfini. I just said that. Yeah.
I didn't hear you.
Yeah, where basically Robert Redford is a 3-star general who gets sent to a military prison after disobeying orders, all that kind of stuff. James Gandolfini plays the warden. You get vibes of Shawshank, obviously, from it, because it's a very prison escapee kind of movie, revolt kind of stuff. But it came out like a month after September 11th. And it was it was a huge box office flop. Like on, I think, a $72 million budget, it made $27 million. And for Robert Redford films, like during that era when he was still pretty well known, I mean, he was a household name for sure. That was bad. That was like a huge flop. But when basically when we were watching it, I was just wondering like why they were making certain cinematic decisions, why, you know, camera angles. They kept doing that double focus where you have somebody in the background and somebody in the foreground in focus, and I hate that. And then there was a couple Dutch angles and stuff like that. It's just like, oh, this is such an early 2000s movie. And I began to realize, man, that is not an era of movies or TV shows where they made particularly great decisions, but they were like trying to work out the kinks. You know, everything was becoming darker and more brooding because of the cultural zeitgeist of the time. You know,
well, and that's just, you know, that's not even taking into account, you know, advancements in technology too.
Right.
You know, we saw
CGI.
the CG make a huge drop into the field, and boy, you go back and watch some of that stuff now, and it is rough.
Okay, but hear me out. I was trying to, because as the movie was going on when we were watching it, I was thinking, you know, yeah, CGI was not great. We were learning things. HD DVD was fighting Blu-ray. People, you know, production companies were trying to figure out. That was a couple of years later. But you got to remember, like, Lord of the Rings.
But was majority practical effects?
Was it? Was Gollum was Gollum?
Well, Gollum wasn't. But
that's what I'm saying.
I mean, all the fucking Uruk-hai and
the ants and I'm saying there's plenty of practical effects, of course, but there is plenty of CG. Like Weta Digital was born for that trilogy.
But not everybody is Weta, you know. Like,
no, I know. I'm just saying as an example. As an yeah, like the pizza. What was it? What was the name of the pizza? It was Freshetta. Freshetta is better. Did you not remember that pizza? That's because I think it went bankrupt, but it wasn't better.
It wasn't better. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just saying as an example for the early 2000s, those hold up, right?
I think it really just depends on what you're watching, you know, because you go back and watch shit like.
Do you hate Lord of the Rings? Are you?
No, I'm saying Lord of the Rings is the exception, not the rule.
Well, that's why they won Academy Awards out the wazoo.
It's exactly why they did that. But even big movies, you know, you go back and watch shit. I've talked about it before. Going back and watching Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. You get to portions of that, and it's like, holy there are video games that look better than this shit right now.
Like the Troll, except for the actual licensed games, but that's a whole other issue, you know?
Yeah.
News. Yeah. So, we're kind of in that period now, and that, I assume that's why good old Jimmy Cameron in his Yellow Submarine is waiting like a decade and a half to produce a movie. You know, we talked about this. You know, he's made far fewer films than you care to think, because he's waiting for either technology to advance or he's developing the technology himself. So we kind of get in this ebb and flow of like technology, and by that very same metric, quality when it comes to how movies and TV shows look. People are complaining about the CGI in Marvel movies now. I'm like, go back in the early Marvel movies. Those movies do not look good, and they're they're highlighting specific shots that look good. Look at me, internet. Most Hollywood movies, they outsource their CGI work. So many studios, it's just like anime. Many studios are saying, hey, tiny production house, do the visual effects for scenes 8 through 10. And so that's what they do. So you see like varying quality levels of quality throughout the film. It's not like Marvel is signing a super low check for, Doctor Strange 2 can only have, you know, a month's worth of visual effects work on it, and then we're going to wait until the very end of the release, and then if people hate the trailer, then we're going to work on, you know, that kind of thing. just because Sonic the Hedgehog changed, and we'll get to Ugly Sonic, but just because Sonic the Hedgehog drastically changed the look of Sonic to appease the fan base, I think it was really just because they wanted to cover their ass. They wanted to make sure they saw a franchise in the molding of that movie, and they ended up saving it. It's a very rare case.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's also worth noting that the company that Paramount hired to redo the digital effects for Sonic the Hedgehog, the first movie, no longer exists.
Well,
they blew up.
It was because of Sonic, and it was because of cats. Yeah, which we will also get into. In fact, do you want to just jump into that now?
Because we can jump.
We both watched it. We both watched Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, which is now on Disney Plus. It dropped on Friday yesterday. And did you grow up watching the TV show?
I did. Yes, I was a big Disney afternoon kid. So DuckTales, Darkwing, Tailspin, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. I love all of them. I watched them all the time. So when I saw this, the trailer for this reboot sequel movie,
Legacy sequel.
Yeah, there you go. I was actually pretty stoked. I thought the trailers looked funny. So I went into it pretty excited about it.
And you know why? You know why it looks funny? Because The Lonely Island is behind the production on this.
Yes, yeah.
So you have one of my favorite movies that has ever been made, Hot Rod. It's a masterpiece.
It is a masterpiece, yes.
It is something of a masterpiece, which was also developed by them. So I was already going into this, and MacGruber and Land of the Lost to a much lesser degree. But they all have this talent that they're bringing to the table when it comes to this classic, nostalgic-filled franchise. You know, Akiva Schaffer, Jorma Taccone, and Andy Samberg, Lonely Island, they're just a few years older than us. They come from the same generation of people growing up watching these cartoons, and so the nostalgia is already baked into the creative team. So you could tell that they were going to put their little fucking mittens on the DNA of this project, and it shows. There is a huge love for this movie, and not only the Chip and Dale's franchise, but the entire like Walt Disney and Warner Brothers to a lesser, actually not
animated stuff in general.
In general,
really.
Yeah, it's a hodgepodge of just references and cameos. I was honestly fucking shocked at how many like IPs they were able to bring into this. Yeah, like the budget has to be a fucking bajillion dollars. Hold on, I'm gonna look.
And you know they do you know sort of the meta sort of not commentary, but meta plot. You know, like Chip and Dale were actors in the original Rescue Rangers show, and so it's all about their falling out post that, and you know them kind of like going in different directions, and then they got to come back, and then they need to be detectives, even though they're not really, they're just actors, and you know it's a very and it's been made countless times at this point, Roger Rabbit style sort of take on it. And,
yeah, a lot of comparisons to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and it's funny that people make those comparisons because while the plot is, what am I doing with my face? A lot of the plot is kind of similar, but it's also like this is just a vehicle to make a lot of funny jokes with this nostalgic franchise.
I think comparison-wise, and I personally, I love Roger Rabbit. It's one of my favorite movies. I could watch that so many times and never get tired of it. And I think the comparison really just stops at like on the meta level, and you know, like here's all these different characters from different things. You know, like in Roger Rabbit, seeing Mickey Mouse talking to or not Roger Rabbit, Bugs Bunny.
Actually, does he? I don't think. I thought it was Donald Duck and Daffy Duck.
There's a parachute scene where I believe it's Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm seeing it now. Here it is.
Yeah, there you go. And but I mean, there's tons of stuff in there. You know, they have Sylvester and Tweety talking to Goofy at one point. Sylvester drops a damn vagina joke at one point in that movie. It's unhinged.
Wait, really?
It's crazy. Oh yeah. At the end of the movie, Sylvester calls Judge Doom a pussy.
Oh, okay, but I gotta rewatch that now. It's been a minute since I've seen it, and I think because I am still slightly horrified on the Judge Doom character.
It's terrifying.
Yeah,
like the shoe
Lloyd.
scene.
Yeah,
it's terrifying. Like that was one of the first like truly horrific animated scenes I had seen as a child.
And I was worried.
I don't know how they got away with it.
I was worried because when we saw the trailer for this movie, they show to an extent the final section of the movie, kind of spoilers. And something kind of similar happens to that, and I was like, "Oh no, what are they going to do?" I really hope it's not something like that. For the most part, I mean, this movie is very much for kids. It's a PG movie. You do not have to worry. There is like maybe one or two risque jokes, but it's not like, I mean, fucking Sylvester calling you a pussy.
Yeah, there's underlying jokes too. Like obviously, characters treating stinky cheese as like drugs that they got to get their fix off of.
Oh yeah, like
you know, like that's your sort of like, here's your joke for your kid and here's your joke for your
too
adult,
much cheese, you know? Not enough bread, that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. So
it's perfectly enjoyable for young kids and adults who, even if you didn't grow up on it, like you're our age, you're just like, you know, I remember this, but I never really watched it. You'll still have a good time watching it.
It's a fun movie.
There's still plenty of like cameos and references to other franchises that you're like, holy shit, they brought this character in, like.
Yeah, I mean, so it's just like the worst kept secret ever.
Yeah,
like
it immediately, as soon as the movie like landed on Disney Plus,
people talk about Marvel movies being spoiled super quick. I will say I have still yet to be spoiled on Doctor Strange.
That's astounding to me.
This cameo, and we'll put a buffer on it.
Yeah,
it was immediately spoiled. The movie was like up for less than half a day.
Yeah,
there's people tweeting about it. There's websites running full fucking articles. IGN.
Yeah. Well, they're one day we'll get to them. We'll just rip them apart because I have many issues with them.
But yes, if you don't want to know, maybe skip ahead a couple minutes at post stream, maybe mute stream right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's an extended cameo. It's extended a plot.
I wouldn't even call it a cameo because
he's part of the plot.
He's a part of the
actual plot. The ugly Sonic the Hedgehog. It's part of the plot.
An older ugly Sonic, right?
Yes.
A Sonic who you could tell because the quills are longer. He has the bags under his eyes. He's lived through it. Like this may be set like a couple of years in the future, I think, to a degree.
Yeah. They run it as a joke of like, all these characters, obviously they're actors. So the idea is that this ugly Sonic the Hedgehog was an actor that they hired. And then the blowback was so extreme that he lost the job. But now he's like almost coked up, like drug addled.
Do you know who voiced him?
It was oh Jesus,
Tim Robinson.
I did. Yeah, Tim Robbins.
Yeah.
That's I when he popped up in the credits, I was like, oh shit, really?
Yeah. And because I actually had to pause it because I was trying to guess without looking at the cast list because I knew there would be a shit ton of cameos. And of course, I recognized, Keegan-Michael Key. I recognized, the two main leads, Andy Samberg and, the other guy, John Mulaney. And I'm definitely not looking at the IMDb list, but like I was looking at Eric Bana, Flula Borg, Will Arnett being here, of course. They brought back Tress MacNeille to do the voice of Gadget.
J.K. Simmons.
A lot of great voice actors in here.
Yeah.
But like I was trying to pause. I'm like, who is that's doing Ugly Sonic? Because I was hoping I was going to be able to get enough dialogue from that because that blew my mind. That got spoiled for me before I watched the movie because I woke up and saw that. And there's already so many fucking memes of like this close-up Sonic face.
Yes. Close up, the teeth.
It's so bad.
Anything that you would expect.
And I'm glad that they are not only making fun of it because they do the whole like slow zoom into the mouth, like being completely horrified, like entranced by it. But they fucking bring him back. He has more than one line of dialogue. He comes in to save the day.
Climax of the movie.
What a redemption arc, right? And actually, let me think about this. The logic behind this. Okay, so in the world of this movie, all of your cartoons that you watched growing up, they're actual actors, right?
Yes.
So if Ugly Sonic was fired, who is playing Sonic in the Sonic movie in that universe?
Yeah. It's it's just standard Sonic. Maybe they shelled out the normal money for normal Sonic,
I guess.
not Ugly Sonic.
It's
yeah. Well, I think it works too, because on the when he's first shown, obviously you get the meta joke. Anyone who's been on the internet for longer than a day, gets the joke immediately. But then they keep it going, and they make him his own character, and it's just like, and I think that's kind of that attention to detail, or at least strategy with the movie, that makes it work. Is it does have all these like, oh, haha, I get that reference, but then a lot of the times it's like actually melded into what's happening in the story, or what's happening around people and the characters. Like at one point they go down the uncanny valley. It's just so good. Such a good joke.
The cats fighting in the alleyway.
They look down a corner, and it's the CG cats from 2019's Cats fighting in the alleyway over scraps. And they
Polar
make
Express eyes,
Yes, yeah. I guess it's a Narnia dwarf.
I think he's just supposed to be like a generic.
Is he?
I would say maybe Beowulf, if you had to go that route, if you had to get the closest. But I think he's just supposed to be a generic character. He's not based on anything. But he's like, look at me, I'm looking at you.
Look at your eyes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so even better.
And then they have a moment where all characters who are voiced by Seth Rogen are just laughing at the same time.
Looking at your dead eyes. I had to pause the movie to let my mind be unblown, if that makes sense.
Oh god, it was a fever dream. It was just the closest you could get to comparing it to anything.
I will say that like 70% of the movie is definitely just a by the books, like animated kids film, with the generic kind of plot, and they're just trying to solve a mystery kind of thing. But the fact that they're able to put in all of these licensed characters and references, like Rick and Morty show up, South Park show up, fucking Batman versus E.T. is a movie that exists in that universe.
Fast and Furious babies,
the Mr. Doubtfire, which that's not even an animated movie character. They just like, hey, who was it Helen Mirren?
No, it was Meryl Streep.
I'm sorry,
Mr. Doubtfire.
So that's going to be a problem going forward that you should know about, audience. I have a problem with Helen Mirren and Meryl Streep. They're two totally different. They're legends of their craft.
Look, this is how you can separate it in your head, right?
Yes.
Helen Mirren,
okay,
red.
Okay.
Meryl Streep, Devil Wears Prada.
Oh, I thought you were doing like just colors.
No.
About the movie Red.
Well, you can even just stop there. Like, who is in Red? Helen Mirren.
I'll just remember it. I'll just remember the cast of the movie Red from 2010, or Red 2, or Fast and Furious.
Solid B movie Red.
Yeah. Well, you're not even that far, but she's in the Fast and Furious franchise.
Yeah.
So.
And I think with all the meta stuff and the internet meme humor going on at the same time, it would have been easy to just do that, but they do still make the movie about Chip and Dale.
Right.
It is about their journey. It shows reverence towards the original source material. It treats the characters well. It doesn't do anything that's like we're just gonna use this as a vehicle for all these stupid jokes. It's like we're gonna make a movie and then just throw a bunch of stupid jokes in there.
Exactly. And that's why this movie is going to be remembered over Space Jam: A New Legacy, or over, I'm trying to think of another like crossover kind of movie. But you get my point. Like any like reference, I got Ready Player One. I mean, people remember that movie, but they remember it because of how fucking nuts it was. And it's oh look, cameo, oh look, reference, oh look, I know that, that kind of thing. But the story wasn't that great, or the movie wasn't that great, and that's a Spielberg movie. So,
well, produced.
Oh yeah, who directed that? I guess did
he direct that?
I think he did. He did.
Oh, he did direct it. Yeah, we actually just had this conversation.
Yeah, just the other day. I think because we were talking about this while you were watching the movie. Yeah, he directed it, and it was written by the same writer as Watchmen, and the writer of the book. So he wrote Avengers, Incredible Hulk, X2, X-Men United, Ready Player One. The guy knows his comic books and video games, apparently. Poor Ty Sheridan. Poor Olivia Cook. the whole cast. I'm like, come on. No. They anyway. Zach, I wanted to get into some news. I want to talk about some.
You didn't have anything else that happened in your week?
No, I'm sorry. I just kind of want to talk about stuff other than movies and TV shows.
Sure. Yeah. Let's roll.
I'm going through Stranger Things. That's it, really. I'm just trying to watch. I have finished season 1, halfway through season 2. I'll get through it before season 4, part 1, which is 5 of the 7 episodes, apparently. Did you hear about this? We're not going to move.
Yes, that they're we'll hit it real quick. Yeah, they're divvying up the final season of Stranger Things into 2 parts.
Yeah,
first part dropping on the
27th
or 27th
next Friday,
and then the second part dropping on
July 1st.
It's that much?
Yeah, it's
that much of a split.
It's a whole month.
Oh wow.
Hold on, let me do just fucking.
I thought it was like a week or 2.
Straight no. They want to do the whole mainly because of the runtime of the final 2 episodes being basically equal to an entire season, but also because they want to have those water cooler moments where they're trying to build anticipation for the final hold on, just May 27th, and then I had it. Damn you, Wikipedia. Yeah, July 1st. So yeah, the volume 1 is the first 7 episodes, and then volume 2 is 8 and 9. But that's because they're both like, I think the final episode is 2.5 hours long, which is insane.
Gotcha. I mean, it is insane. I get the idea coming from Netflix's perspective, because it's honestly, with all the shit that's going on over there, if I was a Netflix exec, I'd be kind of shitting the bed at this point.
I actually think that maybe this is probably like a last minute. They announced it probably the same day they made the decision to have a majority of the season drop this upcoming week, because not only is it Memorial Day and they're trying to capitalize on just streaming in general. National Streaming Day was the other day, and they had a big press event. Or I'm sorry, this was Disney with like Hulu and Disney Plus and ESPN, but like it wasn't just them. Netflix and HBO both capitalized on that as well. But because it's such a huge holiday weekend, it's an extended weekend. They're trying to boost their watch times, and I don't even know how that equals out to like profits, but business. So yeah, it was definitely when it was announced, it was definitely decided earlier that day, like, hey, let's just drop like 80% of it, and then we can hold our word and still have the final 2 episodes be an entire month later, because it again draws out the this will keep our subscribers because they want to stay subscribed for a whole extra month just so that they can watch the finality of Stranger Things, which is odd. You would think that, well, with that logic, you want to have it in June so that they stay subscribed and so that they don't cancel for a whole month and then resubscribe on July 1st. But then again, the opposite could be true.
Maybe I guess it would depend on where you're. Well, theoretically, if you're subbing on May 27th, right, to watch the first part of Stranger Things, your next, if you do it monthly, your next payment would be on June 27th.
Right.
Would you cancel then your service just to re-up on July 1st?
If you just straight, like if you signed up your account, I don't give a shit about Netflix. They're terrible to a subscriber. I canceled it like a month ago when they started shitting the bed. But then you re-up May 27th. Then you binge the entire season 4 or part 1. And then you cancel again May 28th. And then you don't re-up until July 1st. That is a whole month's worth of, which is only like, what, $15.99 right now for Netflix for like a normal.
Yeah, it's for their subscriber actual HD subscription, right. Non 4K, because I think 4K is like $20. But like, if you were gonna sub on the 27th, it doesn't matter how fast you binge. You would just need to finish it before the next month's 27th.
I mean, I guess, but like by most people who are going to be doing this, and this is such a small like part of the overlap that we're trying to see of people who hate Netflix so much that they are willing to stuff it to them, but also want to consume their content by like gaming the system. There's not that many people that are going to do this, but I could see people doing that. You know,
well, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, I think at that point, it's way more trouble to worry about like, oh, well, I'm going to cancel on the 26th of June and then re-up on the 1st of July, so I'm not paying for 5 days or whatever.
Right, and that's what Netflix is kind of counting on, right? They're just like, hey, just sign up, for the 27th and then wait until July 1st, and then you can cancel it July 2nd. Yeah. Or July 1st, once you finish those final 2 episodes. It just depends, because of 4th of July weekend. That's kind of another reason why they're hoping to, because what July 1st is. It's a Friday, isn't it? Hold on.
No, I don't know. I don't keep track of days.
July 1st is a Friday. So it's, that 4th of July weekend that they're kind of accounting for. July 4th is on a Monday, but you would imagine a lot of businesses are like, oh, okay, you can have the Monday off. Or July 4th is a federal banking holiday, isn't it?
Yes.
Independence Day?
Yes.
American
I think so.
Independence Day? Is July 4th
I believe it is.
It should be a bank holiday. Most banks will be closed on the 4th of July. So yeah, it would be an extended kind of and that's not like every business, obviously. Not every business is a bank, unless McDonald's is giving me cash withdrawals.
I mean, in a way, it's a bank. They take your money.
They do take my money, but I don't get it back.
Well, do you get it back from the bank?
For what they do to, well, I mean, it depends. Are you investing in that bank?
Technically, the way banks work is you just everyone throws their own money into a pot, and then the bank gives that same amount of money out of a different pot.
Hi, welcome to the Anti-Banking Podcast.
I never said that.
No, but like, well, let's go ahead and imply it. I like it. Let's pivot to something that's a little less exciting, and yet somehow, like it's.
Yeah.
Did you hear about Elon Musk and why he's in the news?
Well, I hear way too much about Elon Musk at this rate, but yes, I did hear about this.
So, and maybe it's timing. Maybe maybe there's a larger story at play. But what it boils down to is the headline is Elon Musk exposed himself to SpaceX. To a SpaceX flight attendant, which is not good.
Yeah, that's pretty shitty.
Whatever you feel about Elon Musk, if you're watching this, he's a bad dude. you know, justify any other behavior that he's had, his cool like crypto bro personality. It's still a shitty guy. I'll boil it. I'm in an era where I thought we were kind of, and don't misinterpret this, in an era where the Me Too movement has not become the headline of every news outlet, because there are a lot of other things going on: pandemic, world economy, fucking Biden. Russia, Ukraine, all that kind of, just everything. And that's the one that's already terrible, that we're also not discussing this with the whole like Roe v. Wade overturn. The world is shit. I'm very sad.
It's in a bad start.
So to see someone who kind of deserves for his shitty behavior to be highlighted in the news, and the whole like Me Too'd as a verb being thrown around yet again, for someone who's in the what is it, the world spotlight. Yeah, well, I just mean like in the spotlight. He it's bad timing for him, but I am kind of getting schadenfreude from it. For those who don't know, that's kind of joy from someone else's misery. But
I definitely get that. I could understand taking a lot of pleasure and seeing all of his plans kind of blow up in his face. However, I don't. At this point, like, there's not really much that I'm like, oh yeah, he's getting his comeuppance. You know, like, what's going on? Like, oh, a story broke, and there's a whole backstory going on with the story, where Business Insider, who did the first report, contacted him for a quote at a certain time of the day, and then like after that, Musk went on Twitter, was like, I am now switching to registered Republican, and because of this, they're going to start talking shit about me.
Was that really like that was connected?
The timeline was Business Insider calls him for a comment on the story that they're running, which is that he not only was it a report of this exposure, but the settlement as well, which is a settlement of $250,000 to settle out of court and have this woman go on a non-disclosure agreement about it. And after that phone call, he goes on Twitter and is like, I'm registering as a Republican to vote. Dems are, you know, toxic, all that shit. They're going to drag me through the mud. 2 hours later, story goes up, right?
Yep.
Then as the story is going up, the writer of the story, the reporter, is like, hey, just FYI, I contacted Musk about this at 9. You know, do with that as you will. You know, like, so that's kind of how this whole thing lines up at the moment. But for me, like, there's not really like what's going on. He's still just tweeting more. Like nothing has changed. I don't feel like anyone's opinion of the man is gonna alter through this ultimately. Like anyone, I feel, who has the like reason to see certain things that he's already done, the way he's acted, this whole fucking Twitter deal that's been going on in the background that he's now trying to back out of, and kind of, you know, all the union busting shit and that he was a part of. I don't think you could consciously look at that without having an inkling of the sort of person he already is.
Right.
So without like having a concrete, actual effect or consequence come about any of this, like what's really happening? The guy's just going mask off at this point. Like, yeah, it's nothing we didn't already know. Personally, but I can understand why the slide down that would be, you know, somewhat enjoyable.
It's literally, it's throwing shit onto a pile of shit. you know,
Yeah.
that you're not surprised by it. It's still a mound of shit. I hate that it's kind of a non-story, and like I said, it's kind of another reason why.
Just to clear up, I don't think the story itself is a non-story.
Right.
I just think the way Musk is reacting is a non-story because there's no consequence at this point.
Sorry,
When there's a consequence, then sure, yeah, I could get on board with that. But right now, I think the focus is more of like, hey, just so you know, let's add this other thing into that pile of shit.
Yeah, I should clarify. I don't think it's a non-story either. Obviously, no one should be like have to deal with any of that kind of stuff. That kind of behavior is terrible, and like, come on, men, just in general. Man, be better. Like, I'm already having a tough time out there in the dating world, and you're fucking it up for the rest of us. The people who don't have lovely wives like yourself, Zach, or like, trying to think of another lovely couple.
Yeah, because you don't know anyone. No one associated with the podcast.
This is a joke. Yeah. Shh, it's a prolonged joke. This is a clip for later. I can't think of anyone. So. Especially not producers of the podcast. But I think I don't think it's a non-story, but I do think that the fact that there is no, like, exactly what you said, basically, there's no consequence to this story, and I kind of want to live in the timeline where everything is correcting itself after the last decade or so, you know, of bad decisions and bad investments. I do want to talk about a show real quick, jumping off of that, called The G Word with Adam Conover.
Yeah.
I managed to, it released this Friday as well. Or no, actually it released on Wednesday, I think. Sometime this week on Netflix. And it's Adam Conover from Adam Ruins Everything. If you watch that on True TV or you watch clips of it on YouTube or TikTok or whatever. It's basically covering specifically the government's effects on the American government's effects on its people and globally as well, dealing with diseases and weather and taxes and just basically how it affects our day-to-day lives and how we are both damaged, affected, or benefiting from the government's involvement and what we can do about it, what we can do to effectively change it on our level. And it's 6 or 7 episodes. You can binge it all in one day. I highly recommend binging it because that means we get more content from studio that made it. But it was an ultimately endearing message, and I want to volunteer at the next election. That's how inspiring it was.
That's awesome.
But kind of the reason I bring that up is because I was jumping off of the fact that it feels like we're in a kind of nebulous space about whether or not we are the timeline that is correcting itself. Are we getting better as a world, as a society, as a country, as a community, or are we getting worse and worse and worse? The hard part about waking up every morning is trying to find a reason to, and I'm not trying to be depressing, I promise, but the hard part about trying to find a reason to keep going is obviously because you want to continue existing for your friends and family and loved ones, and to enjoy another beautiful, bright day. As sappy as that is to say.
Sure.
No rhyme intended. But it's easy to slip into a dark place when you read the headlines. Like, I was trying to find news articles to talk about, and unfortunately the Elon Musk was the one that I stuck with. But it was going down the long list of like Reddit news articles, and it's just news headlines in general, monkeypox and the Boston shooting. Historic heat wave poised to hit dozens of US states this weekend. That's great. Thanks, Reddit. It's easy to find the dark parts of the world, but you have to find, I almost said silver lining. You have to find the bright spots too. And that's going to r/aw. Hold on. I gotta do this real quick. This has to happen.
So, do you want me to wait for you to ruin your awe, or do you want to end on an awe?
Oh,
Because
shit.
I do have also something.
Oh no. Okay. Well then, yeah. Well, go ahead. Oh fuck.
Okay.
Oh.
So,
Hold on. Okay.
you can
Go ahead.
you
Go
can just
ahead.
have
Go
that
ahead.
up.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Guys.
you can throw that up. So partially related to in a kind of not detached way, but just as a symptom of a larger problem, I think. I also watched a documentary this weekend called Our Father, and I believe it just dropped over the past week. It's new. It came out this year.
Okay.
But it's I don't know if you're familiar. There's a story about an infertility doctor who basically, to put it in a short story form, used his own specimen, as it were, to impregnate women who were having infertility issues, or women who were part of couples who were having infertility issues. It is not a fun documentary. I'll just put it straight up. It's not fun. It is fucked up. It does not have a happy ending either.
What? Why? Okay, this is a trend I saw on TikTok. Just side tangent. Of like, it was showing a clip of a guy trying to watch a horror movie with his wife, and it's cutting back to like him enjoying the horror movie, and the wife.
I did see this.
Yeah,
yes,
the wife getting scared, and then it cuts to a true crime series, and she's enjoying, and the guy's like, "What the fuck?" It's like, why is the weird fascination with true crime?
Yeah, so I'm not usually a true crime person. I do think this is slightly different than what your normal, at least what that skit was sort of making fun of, because I think when we consider true crime documentaries, a lot of time we think of, past the point of where something can be done,
right?
Or like kind of violent porn, or like not gore porn, so to speak, but like the sort of I can't stop looking at this car wreck,
right,
sort of feeling.
There's got to be a word for
this. This is more like hey, here's how our system's fucked up. Here's something that someone who's still around did something super shitty, and the people he affected are still trying to get any form of help. It's similar, I think, in the vein to the Jinx, I believe it was, where it was an HBO documentary about I believe his name was Robert Jinx. I might be getting that wrong. It's been a while since I watched it. But he essentially did all of this basically murder. Or it was it was. I'm mixing, I think, stuff up with other things. But essentially, the documentary came out, which incriminated him, and they were actually to bring charges. They were able to bring charges against him for his crimes that he committed.
Right.
And this is, I think, sort of what they're aiming for here, where these people, and I'm kind of spoil it here for a second. The thesis starts with six or seven siblings, who discover through 23andMe that they are all related, and then they end up finding out why they're related. And as people keep using 23andMe, there's and now it's passing 15 siblings. Now it's passing 21 siblings. And it gets to a point where there are almost 100 people with the same DNA, or not same DNA, but who were fostered by God, well, my words are failing me here. Basically, the guy used his sperm to impregnate women at least 100 times in a field where he's supposed to be, helping them
with someone else's sperm, not his. Right?
Yes. Either taking it from an actual donor who would only be used more than 3 times, or would only be used up to 3 times,
right?
Because they want to avoid the even crazier thing, or I don't even know. The whole thing is fucking insane, but it's part of a small town. So now you have all these people who geographically are still fairly close to one another. So now you have to worry about, and the reason why they don't use samples more than 3 times is because you want to make sure that you don't run the risk of running into a sibling or anyone that's actually closely related to you, and getting to a place where it just utterly destroys even more lives. They are, it's just, I want to get back to my original point, aside from just describing it's fucked up. It's a fucked up documentary.
Right.
I only watch it if you have a strong stomach. It's not fun. I'm glad to know it now, because and if anything comes up where something can be done about it, I want to be aware. But I think it's indicative of this sort of thing that we've been kind of talking about, where there is certainly of the time, as all the Roe v. Wade stuff is going on. We just fail time and time again about bodily considerations for women.
Yeah.
And at one point during this documentary, they do get to take this guy to court, but not on any sort of sexual aggression or rape charges. It's because he lied to the attorney general. So it's 2 counts of obstruction of justice. He does get fined $500 and just walks away. $500 for, at the time, over 30 people.
And this is
whose lives were ruined.
This is the court having known that information, that there are that he
but
committed those crimes.
Yes, but see, the thing that they were trying him on was not the crime of using his sperm to inseminate these women without their consent. It was the crime of lying to the court.
But they know it's a crime. They know he committed that crime.
Not in Indiana, which is where it takes place. Now it is. Now they part of the they do the post documentary role of hey, here's where things are now.
Yeah.
This is the number of people who have been verified as having DNA bond with these other people. That Indiana did pass in 2019 a law against this sort of thing happening. Fucked up thing is, only 4 other states in the country have that shit.
What the Hope? Tell me Alabama is one of them.
That I don't know.
Shit.
It does not. It does not.
I mean, all 50 states should have them.
Right. It seems like something. But this
Puerto
is what
Rico
I'm getting at.
Well.
There's this idea that are where the things that are in place to protect us have everything set to do it. When in fact what is happened is it's just kind of a clusterfuck. If something comes up that's out of their wheelhouse, then they throw their hands up. It's not their problem. And then after the fact, maybe we'll get around to looking at it, but only if we don't have certain people in charge or part of the process who derail it, because they specifically don't want to avoid this problem. There's a whole it goes into a movement, the Quiverful movement, about how it's this white supremacy religious thing where the whole goal is to raise as many new white supremacists so they can go out into the world and spread the gospel.
Was that this guy's reasoning?
They never for sure say what it is, because he never goes on record about anything. There's a couple of times where he's recorded talking about it, but he's never this is why I did it. Excuse me. It's just a connection, you know. They go down the rabbit hole of like, oh well, this when we're trying to get someone from the Attorney General's office to contact us, there's this guy on there who has a Quiverful email address. What's Quiverful? And then they find out what that is, and yeah, it's this whole thing. So, bottom line is, we are constantly embattled with these people whose sole purpose is for themselves and people like them. And I think it's important to remain vigilant about that, especially when we have those things like Roe v. Wade possibly vanishing. Now there's talks of birth protection, you know, being outlawed in certain states. You have this Musk thing, which is, you know, it basically just comes down to entitlement of this man to do whatever. And there's so many people who think like that. So yeah, it's, and then you mentioned the shooting in Boston. Or Buffalo, rather. Sorry.
Yeah. I may have said Boston. I apologize. I meant Buffalo.
The shooting in Buffalo about an admitted white supremacist. Mm-hmm. And people, certain outlets are falling over themselves to not name him a racist. And we have legit faculties and cults whose sole purpose is defined as white supremacy.
Yeah.
And we're just ignoring it, or trying to hide from it.
How do we live both in the future and the past is my big question. How do we live like we're living in the 1800s with fucking super phones in our pocket? Like, we have computers in our pocket. We are able to do so many amazing things with the technology that we have. And I'm using technology as a jumping off point because it is something that we take for granted on a day-to-day basis. But we also, I may live next to somebody who absolutely hates all of the races but his. Like, they think that they are below them. I just, that blows my mind that kind of mentality and that kind of person can still exist. The people that we elect on a day-to-day basis believe in conspiracy theories and believe that they are, I don't know, they're born from, like they are the descendant of God or something. They're how?
And it's not only is it baffling that it's at this point it's fucking mainstream, right? You know, we can kid ourselves and say like, oh, this didn't happen before such and such a time, when in reality it was just buried. It was quiet. Now it's loud.
Now they're out in the open.
That's what's going on. Think about where we could be without that sort of shit. You know, think about what we could be provided and what we could provide others.
This is why people watch Star Trek.
Oh, you mean his famously non-woke Star Trek that never commented on race relations or political?
I fucking love how they tried to like just go after Star Trek for being non-woke. When I'm like, did you guys watch Star Trek? Did you? It's
the same energy as people commenting on the She-Hulk trailer, going, I wish they would gender bend so many heroes. It's like,
she's existed for like I believe more than half a century. She's existed for a long, long time. I will complain about her being slimmed down. There are very large implications as to why they decided to quote unquote, and this is feminize her by making her more of a slender shape. But body standards are, that's a whole other fucking can of soupy worms. I didn't get to talk about. I want to talk about it. Like we're going a little bit over, but I think that's okay. Who gives a shit?
Just real quick before you get into that, if you need a palate cleanser if you decide to watch Our Father, which again I have to stress, it is not fun. It's not enjoyable. So it's really just. Well, I mean, I won't say don't, because it's good to know. It's a knowledge thing. It's a huge injustice. For sure. But if you need a palate cleanser, I after that we were still feeling like another documentary, so we watched Action Park, which is the second time. The second time I've watched Action Park, which is fucking incredible.
We did talk about it on the Lights Camera Nonsense podcast.
I've talked about it before. I won't talk about it again. I just, if you do that, I will never skip a chance to rep Action Park. It's a fantastic documentary. It's crazy. But anyway, you can go with your bit.
Okay, so I ended up seeing. I also saw a movie that came out this weekend. I saw Men. So directed by Alec, and I will throw it up on the IMDb. But let's just go ahead and oh, come on, ads. I don't have YouTube Premium. Shut up.
I fought it for so long, but now I've been on it.
My roommate gives me shit for, and I'm just gonna have it in the background because I'm gonna be talking about some very. I want to move past the angry stuff, but I have to talk about the movie. My roommate won't give me enough shit for like having just regular YouTube. Every time we play something on the main TV and it's my account and an ad plays, he's like, ugh. And I'm like, I know, but just wait 15 seconds and you'll be fine. I'm not giving YouTube any more money, but please do, follow us on YouTube so we can get paid by YouTube to not pay YouTube. I feel like do we need to have sound for this? I don't know. Is it going to be annoying?
For 5 years and Lola for 12,
yeah, it's gonna be
and
annoying.
I've never.
This is cute little puppies. So I saw Men, directed by Alex Garland and starring, oh my God, I'm already blanking. Jesse Buckley and I feel like I gotta pull it up. Shit.
Goodbye, cat video.
No, I'm pulling it up. I'm pulling it up on my phone. Rory Kinnear. And it's written and directed by Alex Garland, who you may know from doing Annihilation and Ex Machina, Sunshine, which is a fantastic movie. And it's about a young woman who goes on a solo vacation to the English countryside after the death of her ex-husband. And you could follow me on Letterboxd. I don't know if I'll put the link down in the description below, but I usually review movies as soon as I finish watching them. If I don't put anything in the review, it's because I'm either tired or I didn't really get anything out of it, like I did with The Last Castle. It was okay. Sorry, Robert Redford.
That's The Last Castle I watched.
And then I watched like trying to think of another castle movie with castle in the name.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
That doesn't have castle in the name.
Castle in the Sky.
Castle in the Sky. I'll review Castle in the Sky. I've seen it 1,000 times though. Anyway.
Howl's Moving Castle. Just a bunch of Ghibli movies.
Yeah, seriously. Castle of Cagliostro. Another Ghibli movie. So Men is a beer bro. It's, if you're familiar with Alex Garland's work, you're going to be going into an A24 film, which is who produced this, for a very dark. Who is that person? Show me cute cat videos. You're going to be not sad, but you're going to be horrified. I will not spoil the third act of this movie. But I never want to see a birth ever again.
Okay.
Without spoiling anything. If you've seen it, you know. A lot of people, I have been reading reviews of people walking out of the movie theater at various parts of this movie. Like, it is that kind of film for different reasons. I will say that some of the things I didn't like about it are the pacing of the movie. A large chunk of the second act of the movie is... It's a very slow buildup. It's tightening the tension. It's the candle wick burning very, very slowly to get to the candle. It's the tightening of the screws that you're building to this climax. But when you get to the climax, a lot of stuff happens all at once, and there is quite a bit of nuance. You're going to get inklings of annihilation. You're going to get inklings of the ramifications of the decisions that the characters make in Ex Machina. It is not Alex Garland's best work, but it is a visceral A24 horror film where if you know, if you watch The Witch, if you watch Hereditary, if you watch Annihilation, you know what you're getting into when you're buying a ticket and sitting down in the movie theater for these. If you're not, viewer beware.
Good luck.
Jesse Buckley and Rory Kinnear portray phenomenal characters. I will say that there is a bit of drop in quality of performance for Jesse Buckley's character in the third act, mainly because there is very subtextual performance at play. It's kind of hard to not spoil this movie because a lot of it is nuance. It's a message of, I mean, there's a reason why the movie's called Men. It's trying to tell a story about what's the problem with these men? What's going on with this village, and why does everyone have the same face? You know, what is going on? There is some folk horror. You're going to get maybe some inklings of Green Knight in here as well. Zach, I know that this is probably going to be something you may check out as soon as it's available.
Yeah, I'll probably check it out.
Beautiful cinematography. When I tell you that this sells you on the English countryside, it does. Of course, when you get to the third act, maybe not so much. And there is some like, I know it's a specific trope. It's got a shorter name, but it's the run bitch run trope of like, why isn't this character like running away from this situation? Why are they just standing there, kind of thing? Which does happen with most horror movies if you like, you know, step back and think about it.
For a reason.
Yeah, but it's also a story. It's a very personal story that I think certain demographics are going to be getting more out of this movie than certain others. Like, I knew when I watched the trailer and when I started reading early reviews for it that certain demographics that may or may not be obvious are going to be upset with. This is the problem with ads. Are going to be upset and triggered by this movie because they're not going to be able to put their themselves in the shoes of the main character. And we've already talked about the problem that some people have with that and why it's a sort of but the problem with society just in general. And I think that it's a very timely movie in a way, especially with the politics going on. Are you muted? I can't hear you.
No, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, you were just like mouthing kind of. Okay, sorry, just making sure. But I will say, if you have the availability to go see this in theaters, I recommend it. You know, support A24 any way you can because they're not a small studio by any means, but like let's get some like original films the support that they need. That being said, if I had to rate it out of 10, I would give it like a 7.5 men out of 10. Okay. 7.5 men out of 10. I think I've talked about it with a friend of ours about how much I actually kind of really like Annihilation. It hit me in the right moment. And a lot of people didn't. A lot of people didn't. But like, I was kind of. I know. You can't give him a hamburger. I liked it. So if you can, you know, and you're sick of seeing Doctor Strange for the fourth time, then go check out Men. There weren't a lot of huge releases that came out this weekend. I think it was this and one other movie. I can't recall. But just figured I'd give my review for that. I liked it. Looking forward to Top Gun Maverick next week.
I'm hearing great things about.
It's apparently the greatest movie of the year.
Which is crazy.
It's insane.
If you had to ask me what movie I would peg for that, it would not be Top Gun Maverick.
Like it's getting. Oh, look at that! B shake his ass.
Nick, I lied.
Yeah, what's up? My eyes are up here. But this has been the Good Goose podcast, where we talk about everything that's on our mind and in the headlines. Does it lose its impact if I use it both times?
Yeah, I think that's good.
You know, I'm going to steal from the previous iterator for all the news, reviews, and how do you do's. There you go.
News.
Yeah. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
B shake his ass. Oh, there you go.
Girl, you know we're barely sober. Fatal attraction, night ain't over. Who the hell says keep composure when we both keep moving closer? Oh, so give me some.